excited that everybody's here.
Wow, what a crowd.
Uh-huh.
I've never had this kind of crowd before. Anyway, what my daughter, Samantha, and I are going to talk about is art and the brain. And how I've processed through my artistic career, in quotes, through the brain, which is a brand new thing for me in many ways, and a very old thing for me. And Samantha, who is now on her 85th career.
That sounds horrible, but anyway.
No, this is very positive. She's amazing.
I mean, what's been interesting is as my mom is working through her process, I've been working through a very different process. And I'm also an artist, but never really gave myself permission to do my art. There was a lot of judgments and a lot of trepidation and wasting materials and all kinds of conversation. And so as I went back to school and became a social worker, and as I went through that process, what's been very interesting to me is listening to clients and their struggle through things, but also finding different modalities, and in particular, finding a place back to art that allowed me to open up in a very different way.
And a very different way for me, having processed, I went to art school. I have a BFA in painting, and why is everybody standing? It feels like
Stand.
Okay, yeah. And make a long story short, I haven't done full-time art until about 15 years ago. I did it at night, I did it during the day, and I was always working, but I was never doing it every day. And for me, as wanting to be a professional artist, which is not what is one part of art. There's also the other part of art that Samantha's going to talk about, which is like music, like dance, like any other creative art form. People unfortunately say, oh, I can't do that because I'm not good at drawing, or I can't do that. So it's what we're really going to talk about this morning is you should use art in your own life, and how you can be a professional artist or you can be just a person who uses art. And I'm going to talk about this series that I started last about September, which is the first time I really understood the subconscious and how the brain works as an artist. Even through all these years of doing it, I never was really understood what was happening. And I started that painting because I was feeling, I don't know why I just got so nervous. This is making me nervous, that doesn't make me nervous. Anyway.
Focus on that.
Okay, I will. Thank you, Wendy. I started thinking, I wasn't really thinking about what I was going to paint, but I was feeling so much about the world that's happening in this country and the politics. And I thought to myself, it just started, and I did those feet on the bottom, which were the mud. And so then I went, it's totally subconscious. I started drawing these people in the mud, and I went, I'm not being held in the mud. I'll trudge, but I'm going to keep the beauty, which is the top. And the whole series started drawing that. It's all watercolor and ink. And that was the first one.
Do you want me to do Man White?
And then this one came. No, it's not. No, here, take it. And then that one came. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's gold on the bottom. And it's thick paint. And I kept going, and I kept saying, I don't know where these people come from. They just come from my brain. It's just a process, and it just kept going. Let's just take this one.
Margery, are these on Yupo?
They're all on Yupo. It's watercolor on Yupo. And this is graphite, and this is textured watercolor, which is another thing that I've discovered without really thinking about it, is just buying things and starting and playing with them. And not saying it should look like this or it shouldn't look like that, it's just doing it. And it's all, again, you can see the gold on the bottom. I don't know if you can see how.
Is that watercolor?
all watercolor except the graphite. And so this one came. And then they got a little smaller. But it was all the group of people.
Did the people come first for you and then?
No, actually, the very first thing I've done is the blue. And I found this texture that you put into watercolor. And you can feel them on the wall if you want to.
Margery, maybe you could explain to some people what UPO is, because some people.
Oh, UPO is plastic paper. It's really an industrial paper that was used for maps and menus. You could do art on it. And you can do almost anything on it. The one,
Including bend it.
and it doesn't tear.
Let it fall on the floor.
It's-
That's pretty rugged.
Here, just put, I'll just show you the rest of these, which were the. So they were trudging, everybody was staying through the mud, going, and then suddenly, and this is honest and true. She came. And I just felt I wasn't gonna be stuck in the mud. And it was totally, I did not come up with the idea I'm gonna do this, it just happened.
Is the watercolor applied with a brush or is it a watercolor pen
Watercolor brush.
brush?
I use a brush,
Mhm.
yes.
What else do you use?
I use graphite pencils, watercolor, water-soluble graphite pencils, which there's some on the table. And you use it and you can spread it with a pen, with a brush. So that happens like here. This is graphite pencil. And so I did these, and there were 3 of these. Where's the last? Oh, here she is. I mean, they're not happy people, but she's not in the mud anymore. And it was truly an emotional reaction to the world that's going on right now, that we're living through. And then I did that one, which is people not really communicating, but with not living in the mud anymore. And I have one more I'm still working on, and that is there are 13 of them that has been the process for about a year that this has happened. And it's just, the amazing thing to me was the idea that it was all subconscious. That I didn't say I'm gonna do a series about the politics of what's going on in social experience. And I was talking with Samantha about all of this, and then she said.
I actually have some things written down because I wanted to remember to say certain things. So my comfort zone is when I'm in the room, so you forgive me for leaning into my writing because this is a big group for me to talk to. So, okay, so as I said before, I've been an artist most of my life, but never quite gave myself permission.
So did her mother.
So what's been interesting is she's been going through this process and I've been going through my learning process and we've been chatting a lot. We've been talking about the brain, we've been talking about what it feels like to get lost in art. We've been talking about the pressure of society and also the judgment that we put on ourselves, that we feel society has put on us, all of those pieces. And so one of the conversations we've been having is about the brain. And underneath everything else, that the brain is always trying to make meaning. And that it's constantly trying to connect the dots, to find patterns, to understand what's happened, to predict what's coming next. Like a well-run path through the woods, right? We have a tendency to just get back into the grooves of the things we've learned. But these old patterns, these old emotional responses, old stories, right, they become grooves, and then the art can be used to interrupt that. If we allow ourselves to sort of immerse into the art, we can get lost in it if we remove the judgment piece. And so this bilateral drawing that I found, which has been really opening for me, allows you to do just that. we often will put music on so you can kind of get lost. Sometimes I'll invite people to write something that they're struggling with on the paper. It can be one word, it could be a phrase, it could be just an image. And then you begin this process of engaging both sides of your brain, your left side, your logic brain, your right side, your emotional brain, into drawing. And sometimes you just mirror your arms, sometimes you're following along. There's an invitation to use different materials so that the pressure feels different. Sometimes you might want to press really hard and get close to it. Sometimes you might want to stand far apart. But it's a play. It's not, you're not worried about the image you're creating. You're not worried about what it looks like. You're not worried about how anyone else or yourself is going to perceive. It's just a process of play.
I just want to interject there is, you'll dance, and you won't think about anybody judging you dancing. You do it at home. You all sing. You can sing in the shower. Nobody's listening to you. So you use these creative forms of your life experience because you're not feeling judged. And you get a piece of paper and a pencil and you go, you know, I don't know how to do that. I can't, oh, hello, Justin. I don't know how to draw the dog, so why would I even start? As opposed to just using a material and saying, oh, or putting water on a paper and a pencil with some watercolor and seeing what it does. People are afraid to do it, and it's such a shame because it is a great tool to use. So what we're showing you now is you can play, and you can have fun.
You should play.
And you should play.
You should play.
And you should not
It was no shoes.
That's true. You're absolutely right. Apologies, we should not should on ourselves. Yes. But playing is good, and we're taught at a very young age that we're supposed to grow up and do the serious thing, and we leave the play behind. And this is an invitation to come back to play and to allow yourself to immerse in it. I wanted to say there's a really interesting research coming out right now, well, several years, but neuroaesthetics, and University of Pennsylvania, Hopkins, are a bunch of different centers that are doing a lot of research in psychology and the connection with art. And maybe many of you have heard this about the aesthetic triad, which I think is super interesting. It's a model for what's happening in us during this aesthetic experience, that three systems are coming together. Our sensory motor, what your body's doing and sensing, the pressure of the pencil on the paper, the clay in your hand, the movement and dance, the reward, the pleasure that comes from it, and the emotional charge from that experience, and then the cognitive meaning making. Your mind is interpreting, is connecting. So when I was talking about writing a word or a phrase or something down on the page, as you're moving your hands through this word, this process, and you're allowing whatever music's on or thoughts to get lost in it and to just see where it goes, you're also feeling that through your body. And what is that meaning? And what am I connecting? What memories are popping up? So that's sort of the framework for this bilateral drawing work. Yeah.
Did everybody understand that we were gonna be doing bilateral drawing? Was that part of your, that you got? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't
There are
know.
a lot of different, I don't know if you've heard of EMDR and brain spotting, there are a lot of different modalities for processing trauma that work on this concept of engaging both sides of the brain. You're allowing your brain to be present in the moment. It's a meditative process so that you're present fully in this moment, which the drawing allows you to do, the music allows you to do, and you're still feeling and you're still processing. So it creates a new story. Your body is safe in this space. So this is not a therapy session, but this is, the idea is to introduce this as something that you can return to. And quite honestly, I now have a piece of paper in my basement that's just there. And when something's feeling rough, I'm upset about something, I need a little space, I go down to the paper and I'll pick up whatever medium feels like the right medium in that moment. And it's layers and layers and layers of processing. And the fascinating thing is it doesn't have to stop there. There are pieces I've crumpled, I've ripped, I've created new things with. So sometimes there's a tough story you're working on and you're doing the drawing for whatever period, you feel a shift, and then you walk away, and then you can come back and make something new out of it. I have actually someone I work with who created a bowl out of something that she was processing. She did the work for 2 or 3 days, then she immersed it in some ink, and she ended up using it as a paper mache to create this gorgeous bowl that's sitting on her table. And she knows the story of that, and it's moved into a new place in her life that it's part of her, and yet she feels safe and she's moved beyond. So it's an amazing invitation, I think, to separate something that we're all drawn to do, funny, and it allows you to access it in a different way that's helpful. So that's what we wanted to provide for you today, the space to do just that. It may feel comfortable to stand, sometimes it's great to be in front of the paper, and again, you can move closer and further away. Your sense, you can smell the materials, you can switch materials, you can change the pressure. Sometimes it might feel better to sit and be over it, and you can be small or you could be big. Sometimes you're elbowing if you're sitting at a table with people, and so there's this little interaction between people. And then sometimes it feels good to be on the floor and to sit on the paper, and maybe you're drawing around you. But the idea is the play, and there are no rules other than to just be